Okay, so first zero level foundationals, and there's two parts that are of note here. The first being a general baseline of strength, and secondarily, the immediate warm up even before you start dunking itself. So, on the base level of strength, I'm going to show you pretty soon videos of me deadlifting 510 pounds, doing an elevated box squat at 605, and broad jumping 10'3". Whatever your baseline of strength is, it only helps. So you can have an exceptional world-class deadlift of 800 pounds. You could broad jump out to 11'5", or you could be very much at the beginner phase. Nonetheless, before you actually begin the dunking process itself, having some kind of strength program that you're working on and making gains on is extremely beneficial and will only aid you in this process. The second thing is the immediate warm-up. Do whatever gets you most ready, most primed to jump. I'd recommend some kind of active stretching, perhaps jogging into doing some sprints and sprint starts, especially to really work on firing explosively. The one thing that I find most helpful for myself is doing depth jumps. You start at a certain raised platform. I mean, it can be 3 inches, it can be a foot, it can be a foot and a half, whatever. And you just fall down, you jump down, and then as soon as you hit the ground, you use that force that you've put into the ground to come back up as quick as possible. If you have these two things in place, this kind of foundational strength, and then you have a good warm-up immediately before you start dunking, it will only make the goals that you're working towards all the more attainable, I think. So here are, in order, videos of me deadlifting 510, elevated box squat 605, and a 10'3" broad jump. Okay, so B, the two tips explained: one, wear a raincoat; two, complete drills with a weighted ball. This first one sounds so ridiculous, so stupid, so absurd, wearing a raincoat. But it may be that, and yet it's unbelievably helpful. I found it to be so incredibly helpful in my own jumping progress. Why? Two reasons. A raincoat adds weight, but it's evenly distributed, and it also restricts movement. So, of course, this leads into when you're not jumping with this during the normal dunking phase, you feel much, much more free, much more light, and moving much more explosively. As I mentioned in the earlier zero foundational, the idea of like doing the depth jumps and being as explosive as possible and all that, of course, it's obvious enough that jumping is all about explosive transfer of weight, having this intent when you jump, being able to move that weight as fast as possible upward, all very obvious type of stuff. The raincoat, number one, helps a lot in that it restricts your movement, and it adds weight evenly throughout your body. And secondarily, with this weighted ball, you're wearing the raincoat and you're jumping with the weighted ball. The weighted ball, I'm using a 10-pound one, is much, much heavier, obviously, than the standard basketball. And so it fools your body. Anyone who's played baseball will know that before a batter comes up to home plate, he'll often warm up in the on-deck circle with a donut around his bat. Or, in the old kind of movies, Babe Ruth would warm up with 3 bats. Why? Because he's trying to fool his muscles into imagining the load is, let's say, a standard baseball bat is 31 ounces, to imagining the load being, 70, 80, 100 ounces. And then he comes up to the plate, and when the pitch comes, he swings with the idea of moving 100 ounces, and his bat speed is so much faster because that weight is no longer there, and he's swinging a 31-ounce bat. That's the exact same thing. Both these tips are the same thing. Wearing a raincoat and jumping with a weighted ball is like warming up with a weighted bat before you go hit. The idea being, once you quote-unquote hit, dunk, without these things, you're just so much more explosive and moving so much more freely than if you had not used this warm-up. So what you're going to see immediately now is me wearing a raincoat, having this 10-pound weighted ball, and I'm actually trying to dunk here. I'm not able to, as you'll see. The closest I get is just kind of hitting the rim. but I'm jumping with that intent. I'm jumping with the idea of imagining my movement is not restricted and I'm holding a normal basketball and I'm really trying to get up to the rim as fast as possible, and that will really pay dividends in the next phase. C, dunking. So this obviously is the most straightforward part of the whole deal. You've taken off the raincoat, put down the 10-pound ball, you pick up a basketball, and you're going to go do it. You're going to go dunk. And what I'm going to explain now is 100% anecdotal. It's not based on studies or experts say, blah, 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 nonsense like that. Just telling you from personal experience. Once you've arrived at the dunking phase itself, the whole point of this, and you have these 4 things in your favor, the long-standing foundational strength, the good active warm-up, and you've done these 2 tips. You've jumped with the restricted movement and weight of the raincoat plus the weighted ball in your hands. You're going to feel unbelievably explosive, unbelievably loose. You're going to feel like you can jump higher than you ever have before. I just walking up to a basketball hoop with 0 warm-up, can touch the rim, get a little bit over, that kind of thing. I really would be confident I might be able to touch 11 feet after doing this whole whole process here. Now, not dunk on 11 feet. Maybe the highest I can dunk a basketball on is 10'3", 10'4", I'm not sure. But my just kind of normal vertical leap with no warm-up whatsoever and just kind of messing around, barely getting to 10 feet after this close to a foot. I've seen that to be, again, anecdotally in my own experience, kind of where I'm at. And it does not take that long. This whole thing does not take that long, even from the first step of getting out on the court to attempting your first real dunk. And I found it to be so beneficial that it's something that I can go to time and time again every time that I want to go and work on dunk training specifically. So without further ado, the actual dunks themselves. D, dunking part 2 epilogue. It is a true epilogue, a postscript. The whole program is done at this point. I'm just going to show you 2 videos of me dunking a soccer ball. A common impediment for people to dunking is, well, I have trouble palming the basketball. All right, well, soccer ball is smaller and easier to grip. Work with that. If 10 feet is out of the question right now, a normal 10-foot hoop, practice dunking on 9, 9.3, 9.5. Work your way up. You really want to try to celebrate your progress and build confidence that way. And I really have seen this from people that are truly kind of world-class, exceptional dunkers. There are people online you can find, and not just NBA players, but just people that love dunking, love vertical jump training, who can dunk a basketball on 11 feet. I've seen a guy do 12 feet. Absolutely insane, crazy. And a lot of these people will say that, I started off and worked my way up and, small steps at a time. This is a good small step hack. If you're like, well, my vertical jump actually is not that bad, and the raincoat and the weighted ball, just like you said, that really helped me a lot. I felt like I felt better in a kind of, mental way, mental approach, confidence, but I actually jumped higher too. I jumped higher than ever before, but I'm still having problems with the basketball. Well, use a soccer ball. Use, a mini basketball, whatever it is. And I really believe with that kind of positive reinforcement, you'll be making the progress you want. And before you know it, you'll be arriving at the goal in the first place.